we doing today, sir?
I'm good, Spencer. Aaron, how you guys?
We're good. Wait, can you pull that can back up real quick? We have our some sponsor obligations. Oh, that's not a Coke. Oh, that is a Coca-Cola.
That is Coke.
Perfect. All right, we're good now.
It's a Swedish Coca-Cola. It's here. Believe
Is
it or
Swedish
not.
Coca-Cola better than U.S. Coca-Cola? You know, people say like
So
Mexican
much better.
Coke
It's
is
so much better than your Big Mac over here. It's incredible.
Really?
Wow.
Wow.
I'm learning so many things today.
Oh my God, we got to go to Sweden.
Apparently so.
There's a book about it.
About the Big Macs in Sweden?
Yeah, and the Coca-Cola as well.
Is it
You
fiction
guys
though?
were talking about
What's it
books,
called?
right?
What's
I'll send
it
you a
called?
book for the book club.
What's it called?
You'll see when I send it.
All right, perfect.
All right, fair enough. Okay. First, let's talk about Soundtrack Your Brand because I read, I think was it yesterday? I don't remember anymore. I'm pretty sure it was yesterday. You guys are no, it was 2 days ago. Y'all are pursuing an IPO, correct?
Yes, we are.
All right, in the U.S. In the U.S., which we like to see.
We're coming over. The Swedes are coming over again.
Awesome. So tell us, for people that don't know what Spotify for Business or now Soundtrack Your Brand does, what do you do?
Well, what do? I usually explain it to my 85-year-old mother by telling me we're digitizing background music, basically. But the more pretentious response and more market-driven response is we are kind of the Spotify solution, but for the B2B market. So Spotify has obviously evolved from being a music platform for consumers, right, into being an audio media company for consumers.
Right.
So they're in your headphones the whole time, but when you also walk into a coffee shop, into an airport or a restaurant, there's music and audio playing in the background, right? That's referred to as background music, and we're bringing streaming into that market.
Your track record in this industry is pretty unparalleled. You were one of the founders of Beats, weren't you?
Yes, back in the days.
Yeah, back in the day. So you've been in this game for a minute. I would love to get your thoughts on just excuse me, just how it's changed in the last decade.
Well, I think the recent, obviously, news on what's going on with Spotify is obviously a good example of what's going on, because the music streaming market, as it all started up, it started up with somebody understanding that the music market was digitizing, not only in terms of distribution, but in production, distribution, and consumption. And when we were working on this is actually my fourth music startup. So I've been around, I've been somewhat successful, and I've crashed a couple of times as well. But it's basically the same thing that was going on the first 10 years. That was solving for digital distribution, providing all the music in the world, anywhere, anytime, at the fingertips of the consumer, right? So that was kind of the first stage of it. Then Spotify, being a very smart company and an industry leader, were laser focused on kind of just nailing the use case music for consumer. And they spent the first almost 15 years doing that. And then they always had the bigger plan of progressing towards the broader definition audio, which we now can, as a tangible example, podcasts, right? Or different types of experiences that go into your ears. And so that's what's happening in the audio industry. And your US friends at Andreessen Horowitz obviously talk a lot about audio and kind of what's happening. And the interesting thing about that, we consume audio so differently than we consume other media. We have these AirPods in our ears the whole time, basically. So I usually talk about Earspace. Previously, we spoke about eyeballs, right, in the media industry. Now they talk about Earspace. How much Earspace can you take? So that's what's going on with Spotify right now, and that kind of explains the progression of music streaming into audio media. And it's a huge thing that's going on. It's not just Neil Young pulling his content. It's actually Spotify expanding their offering, moving towards 1 billion consumers, and moving towards a huge asset in terms of consumer ear space.
I would love your take on the Spotify Joe Rogan thing. I think a lot of people are curious as to what the implications are when you bring someone like that into your ecosystem, and you create this walled garden where they're only going to be on your platform, and that's of course by design, that drives subscribers and all that. But then the implications of exclusivity agreements and everything. So like, I'm just curious what your take is, and what are the implications of the Joe Rogan, Neil Young, Spotify thing.
I honestly don't really see any huge implications. I mean,
okay.
So I think everyone sit cool. I mean, Spotify is moving from being a music platform to becoming a audio media company. And Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all of those media companies have gone through similar type of challenges, right? There's content being distributed, and there's, consumer generated content, or there's podcasts and stuff. And of course, there's going to be people that have different opinions and different angles when you're a media kind of distribution platform. So I think there's just a general approach that I think Spotify has done really well. It's just follow the legal frameworks of the markets that you're on. Follow the policies that you've created in order to kind of uphold your brand. But by default, you'll have people with different opinions, and you'll have people pulling content and putting content back. It's always been the case. So if Neil Young is pulling his content, I mean, I love Neil Young. He's one of the world's best artists, and it's too bad because I use Spotify as a consumer. But I don't think it's going to have any effect on Spotify's performance.
Jared Shapiro brings up a good point in the chat that if other artists were to follow Neil Young's lead, and it created that, then maybe that would lead to implications. With the way it stands now, I agree that there's not really big implications, from that ordeal. And really, Spotify honestly is in a position where they don't even have to look like the bat. It's like, hey, we're just not going to censor, certain thoughts, opinions that are out there. They're not saying we necessarily agree with Joe Rogan on everything. We just aren't going to be the ones to step in and censor that. So I think that's a very strong and reasonable business decision. But moving forward, I mean, have you guys seen our podcasts? Like moving forward, it seems like there's so much interest in podcasts. We've seen Spotify drop huge sums of money to get Joe Rogan, to get Caller Daddy from Barstool. Is that going to continue moving forward? Is that trend of content distributors spending that much money on podcasts going to continue, do you think?
Yeah, I think so, because once again, back to audio and what people talk about, like mega audio platforms, right? So I'm obviously trying to build the B2B mega audio platform, reaching everyone out in the physical world. And Daniel's building the mega audio platform for consumers. And then there's a natural progression in that. That's like, you need to create interesting content the whole time. You need to, initially when I was at Beats, Jimmy and Dre gave me the brief of, let's create the New York Times for music. What they meant was, let's create a really good editorial product. And what that means is obviously packaging music in compilations or playlists, call it what you like, and serving that up. So that's one way of creating content, right, as a music distributor and taking a stand. But that's pretty far from ever becoming controversial, right? Maybe you'll do kind of the Obama winning the election playlist or something, but no one's really gonna. But once you took the step from just packaging music into actually media content in terms of podcasts, it becomes a bit more personal, and the production context becomes a bit more intense. And then when you start investing as well in content production, which they have, and all other media platforms as well, then you're really taking a proactive role in what's going out there. But still, that's what media companies do. They'll do a podcast with Michelle Obama. They'll sponsor Joe Rogan. So this is what media companies have been doing forever. The thing is that Spotify is growing up to become a global media company, and this is what happens when you're a media company. It's nothing new.
Ola Sars is the CEO of Soundtrack Your Brand, formerly known as Spotify for Business, is pursuing an IPO here in the U.S. Ola, thank you so much for coming on the show today, and we look forward to receiving that book in the mail.
I'll send you the book about Swedish Coca-Cola and Big Macs, coming soon.
Yes!
And then we'll read it and do our own boots on the ground reporting and come investigate.
All right, have a good rest of your night, man.